all of us, regardless of who we are, how old we are, how long we live, how rich, how poor, our gender, whatever it is, all of us have to face one enemy, which is death. It's called the last enemy. It's so profound that we are forced to process this somehow. We cannot ignore it. Regardless of whoever you are, you have to face it. So we all process it. So let's look at different sectors of humanity and what do they do with it. An atheist. You see lots of people in our society who don't believe in God and simply believe in the evolution and that we were created from nothing, the Big Bang, and by default, if we die and when we die, we go back to nothing. So whatever we did, whoever we are, we end and life ends. If you look at the Eastern religions who date thousands of years, of course they had to process this. So if you look at the Hindus, they believe that humans go into a circle of death and then rebirth. It's called samsara. When I die, my soul is reborn in a new body, and my desires in that current life will judge what sort of body will I have in the future life, in the next life. And I could live in an animal's body, I could live in another human's body, whether it will be better or worse life than what I had now, or I could live in a celestial body. The Buddhists, on the other hand, although they are similar in the sense that they believe in this cycle of rebirth, they believe that that there is karma. You heard the word karma. If you lived a good life, you have a good karma, and you have a good after, and a good happier sort of after another life. And if you are not a good person, you will have a not so good life. However, unlike the Hindus, they believe that the soul is not eternal. So nothing about human being is eternal. So your soul could be lost and changed. Now, if you look at the Abrahamic, what we call the Abrahamic religions, the three religions who go back to the days of Abraham or stemmed from him, you have got the Jews. The Jews believe in resurrection, but resurrection of the soul only. They believe that the body only was a vehicle or a container of the soul in that life. So when we are resurrected, we don't need the body. So we are resurrected as souls. The Muslims believe in an afterlife. However, without going into much detail, we all know that the major issue that they worry about is it's entirely up to God to decide your fate. Regardless of how good you were, it depends on His mood and His decision at the time you are being judged. How about a Christian person? We believe that before the cross, before Jesus Christ, and this is why we are talking about it now, before His cross, before what He did for us on the cross, we separated ourselves from God. We chose not to be with Him. We chose to be our gods, if you like. And therefore we pushed ourselves out of paradise. We separated ourselves from God. And by default, Satan got the power that whoever dies, no matter how good or not so good they were his possession. So every human being who passed or died from Adam forward all the way to Jesus Christ on the cross, they were all kept in Hades at the keeping or at the under Satan. And when Jesus died on the cross, Satan thought, oh, this is another one. I'm going to get him, I'm going to capture his souls, and he's going into Hades. And what he didn't realize is Jesus captured him, limited his abilities, and went into Hades, opened the gates, got all the good people who were captured there, and got them with him into paradise. Of course, the first person who went into paradise with Jesus was the thief on the cross. And this is why you would please remember this on Saturday when Abuna prays, when we do the resurrection play, we say, open the gates. You kings, open the gates. It's talking about these gates which no one could touch. It's only through Jesus' death and that he could go there. And since then, Satan's abilities have been limited. So it's a profound moment for humanity, what Jesus did on the cross. Interestingly, if those of you who are into Disney, you can see this beautifully in the movie in Hercules. When he dies to save someone, and he goes in and he saves that person, and he gets his divinity after that. It's, of course, it's taking some leaf from our belief. Anyway, so I will divide this into 4 bits. There is the moment. If you excuse me, I'm not going to mention the word death again in the talk, because, as we say in the litany of the department, there is no death for your people. It's called departure. So when there is nothing called death for us, we don't die. It's departure. So the moment of departure, the journey to paradise, being in paradise, and then heaven. The moment of departure is really very simple. We just close our eyes and we open our eyes and we are out of our body. And there is a beautiful book, if you are interested, it's called The Orthodox Afterlife. It's a lovely book with lots of anecdotes from the church fathers and so on. It's a very easy moment. They describe lots of fathers and lots of saints who went and they managed to get their testimonies different ways. I'm not going to go into the details of it. I know some people don't believe in that. It's beautiful book, but it's simple. We just close our eyes. It's not as horrible as we think it is, and then we are out of our body. And apparently there are few people who came back to life. God felt they are not ready yet, and for those people, they describe the moment of the soul going back into the body as a very, very difficult moment to squeeze yourself back into it. And many people, when they had the chance, they said, we wouldn't have liked to go back into our body, but they were ordered to do that. A comforting word for those of us who have got someone who passed. I'll just share with you a couple of words that were shared with me recently. Someone told me they are still alive, they just changed address. That was such a profound word, it meant a lot to me. Someone described it as when you have got your younger siblings playing in the house downstairs, and then they go up to sleep. You don't cry for them. They are asleep, but you know that when light comes, you will meet them again the following morning. So if you think about it, they have gone upstairs, and we will meet them again when the real light comes. Now, coming to the journey into paradise. It's described by different people as tunnels and lights and sorts of things, but maybe if we go into the 11th hour, the prayer of the 11th hour, we pray it every day when we say to Our Lady, Saint Mary, when my soul departs from my body, attend to me, defeat the conspiracy of the enemies, and shut the gates of Hades, lest they swallow my soul. We pray this. And that begs a question. Am I passive in that business? And people think of it that we are standing there and you have got God and his enemies and his army and Saint Mary with them, and then you have got Satan with his army, and they are fighting over us, and whoever wins, wins. And we dread that moment. But that is not the case. It's our choice, and that's a key point that we need to think of. If you read this verse from the Romans, listen to it very carefully, it's very important. To be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. So the purpose of our life is to be conformed into his image. Ultimately, when we stand at the door of paradise, there is no St. Peter there like the Catholics say. It's just, it doesn't work like that. But if you think about it, ultimately, God will see the image of Christ in me if I have really tried to conform myself with Christ. And if I have lived my life to that, I gave him my life, I believed in his cross and his resurrection, and I had him in my life, and he was carved in my life, then as I walk into, or as I start my journey, it's like a magnet. I'm attracted to him, and I'm attracted into that road. However, if I chose not to, and it's my choice, if I chose to ignore him, if I chose to not believe in him, that's my choice. He will not force anyone to do that. By default, I am repelled from being with him. You cannot be with him if you don't believe in him. And at that stage, by default, I am shifted to Hades, which is basically, if you think of Hades and hell and all that, the worst thing in Hades and hell is not that it's fire that will burn us and we will be hungry and we will be sad. It's being away from God. That's the worst thing. So at that moment, the journey to paradise, we ask for the help of an intercession of saints and Saint Mary and so on. It's actually a continuation of our journey. If I lived my life here with Christ, I will be attracted into him and his road. If on the other hand I chose not to be with him, I'm repelled. I wouldn't like to be in him. And this C.S. Lewis, the writer who wrote Narnia, wrote a beautiful allegory like Narnia about heaven and hell. And interestingly, there are people who, they took a journey from Hades to paradise, or from hell to heaven. And many of the people in that bus were coming from hell. They lived in hell. And they were offered a chance to stay in heaven. And almost none of them, wanted to stay in heaven. They chose to go back to hell. And that simply reflects they don't have Christ in them. So they don't want to be there. They are repelled by him. And he said in one of his paragraphs in that book that we do not start our heaven when we die. We start our paradise or our heaven here. And the moment of departure, if you like, is just crossing that barrier, but continuing with the same journey. When you live your life with Christ, when I live my life with Christ here, I'm already in heaven in that body. But then I will continue the journey when I pass. That's the second bit. Paradise. The journey to paradise. Now, paradise itself. In paradise, I have no body. It's just our souls. Our bodies are left in the grave. And we stay there waiting for the second coming, for Jesus' second coming. And when Jesus' second coming happens, we then have our bodies, glorified bodies, like the body that he had on the resurrection. Now, this is a very important verse that I will read for you. It's a shame that it's not coming here. In Corinthians, thank you. Before we talk about that, paradise. I'll read this verse for you about paradise. What happens to us in paradise? They shall neither hunger anymore, nor thirst anymore. The sun shall not strike them, for the Lamb who is in the midst of the throne will shepherd them and lead them to living fountains of waters. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. لن يجوعوا بعد ولن يعطشوا بعد ولا تقع عليهم الشمس ولا شيء من الحر لأن الحمل الذي في وسط العرش يرعاهم ويقتادهم إلى ينابيع ماء حية ويمسح الله كل دمعة من عيونهم. The Lamb, he's him. The Lamb, he is going to be in heaven with the scars of the cross on his hand. He will not relinquish that. That's his sign of our love. You know, when rich people get married and they say, oh, he's bought her a rock, depending on the size of the rock. His rock for us, his present for us is not a diamond, it's his life. And this is why in the Revelation you will see that Jesus has his body with the scars of the cross on it. He's so proud of it. He's so happy, and we should be blessed and pleased to see that. So he will be, what will happen in paradise? There will be no more suffering. It says no tears, no hunger, no thirst, no bullying, no abuse. A very good friend of ours passed, their parent passed, and they had dementia. And for the last few years of their lives, they didn't remember them. And they said the moment they passed, they now remember everything. And many people who passed, if they had dreams about them, or if you look at this book talking about saints and so on, they don't appear as old people with white hair like mine. People have their best bodies. They are in their youth. Pope Kyrillus once was giving incense in the church, and it was evening, it was Ashaya. And someone heard him talking to the Virgin and said, Sabah al-Khair ya Adra, good morning, Saint Mary. And he thought, it's evening time. So he went to him and he said, Sayyidina, it's evening time. He said, up there is no evening. It's day, all day. So people are not suffering, people are strong, and the Lamb will not be just sat on his throne leaving them he will shepherd them. Can you imagine being looked after by Christ? There are so many people who lived their lives here. Many of us feel underappreciated by spouses, by friends, by family. There you will get that rewarded, and you will get the appreciation you deserve. And listen to this beautiful when he says, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Can you imagine going to visit Prince Charles? Can you imagine him doing that? He sees someone sad and he will just wipe their tears. You know, no one would do that. God will do that to us in paradise. Now finally, next one please. Now, we make the next move from paradise on the second coming. Jesus comes. What will happen when Jesus comes? Two things. There will be two types of people. Those who passed, those of our relatives, our family, our friends who passed and are now in the grave, buried, and those of us who are alive, if we are alive at then. Two different things will happen. So let's see what St. Paul says. I will tell you a mystery, he says. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, the trumpet will sound. The dead will be raised incorruptible. And we who means the alive people, the people who are alive, shall be changed. So when this corruptible has put in put on incorruption, and this mortal has put on immortality. Listen to this. The living people are called mortal. Those who died are not mortals. They're already dead. But those of us are mortals, because we'll die if we die before his time, his coming. So when the corruptible puts in corruption and the mortal puts on immortality, then it will be fulfilled what is written: death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is your sting? O Hades, where is your victory? Thanks be to God who gives us victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. This is what Jesus did with dying on the cross for you and me. It's not just a matter of we come and we do that, and it happens every year. He changed our history. He changed our lives. He changed our destiny. I'll read it in Arabic. It's so profound. في لحظة في طرفة عين عند البوق الأخير يقام الأموات في عدم فساد ونحن الأحياء نتغير. ومتى لبس هذا الفاسد عدم فساد ولبس هذا المائت عدم موت يتحقق المكتوب: لقد ابتلع الموت إلى غلبة. أين شوكتك يا موت؟ أين غلبتك يا هاوية؟ شكرا لله الذي يعطينا الغلبة بربنا يسوع المسيح. Now, in heaven, what are we going to do in heaven? How will I be? Will I be myself in heaven? Of course, no one has gone yet, so we don't know. But we have got some markers, some advice from the church, from the Bible. If you look at Jesus, his resurrected body was not different than his other body. People could identify him. If you read in Luke, when the disciples saw him and they were petrified, they were shocked. They have never seen anything like that. Listen to what he told them. Behold my hands and my feet. Again, he is reminding them of what he's done for them. That it is I, myself. It is I, myself. And again, when he spoke to the Emmaus disciples, تلميذي عمواس, and it says in the Bible, in Luke 24:30, he took bread, blessed it, and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened. He did hold the bread, he broke the bread, and he gave it to them exactly the same way he did beforehand, and their eyes were open. He was not a different person. It's him. And that leads to a question. What makes you, you? Because you will keep that in heaven. When you say, it's me, I am me, what makes you, you? It's not only our body and our appearance, tall and short and fat and thin and whatever. It's our personality traits. It's our experiences. It's our gifts. It's our memories. All these are precious things. And can you imagine, for those who believe that there is no life after death, can you imagine the collective, beautiful memories and experiences that we all carried in our lives? Does this vanish? Of course not. It will be with us. And when we are resurrected in these glorified bodies, we will keep that. And in the final resurrection, all those will remain, will come back. In fact, they will not only be restored, they will be refined, they will be purified. So if I have got a skill now that I tend to sometimes feel precious about it, or feel smug about it, or I feel angry or whatever, all that will be taken away, because we will be purified. These gifts, these memories, everything about us will be purified to be worthy of our new glorified bodies. So I'm finishing now. So without his death, without his cross, the doors of paradise and heaven would not have been open to us. And this is the beauty of what we are doing now. And this is the beauty of our faith. And this is the preciousness of what we have. I'm going to finish by this father who wrote this profound statement. I read it in Arabic after that, but but read it carefully. It's very, very profound. Without his death, with us, not for us, with us. He died as one of us. Death would have swallowed us with no salvation. Without his resurrection, corruption would have devoured us with no hope. Without his mighty divinity, the abyss would have captured us, ending in Hades with no escape. This is redemption. I'll read it in Arabic because again it's beautiful. لولا موته عنا لابتنعنا الموت إلى الأبد ولا نجاة. ولولا قيامته لافترسنا الفساد ولا رجاء. ولولا جبروت لاهوته لأطبقت علينا الهاوية ونزلنا إلى الجحيم ولا صعود. وهذا هو الفداء. So I'll just finish by showing you, this is the conclusion now. When we keep saying, yours is the power, the glory, the blessing, and majesty, I want you to think of the words, because we say them very quickly. I mean, I bet you probably don't think of the words when you say them. I struggle with that, so I try to say them, and I look at the Gom is the power, his glory, his blessings, and majesty. Enjoy saying this and understanding it and saying it to him. We are not worshiping a weak, losing God. We are worshiping a king, a victor. And this is why the church is so mature that even at his apparent weakness on the cross, he's not weak. He is powerful. He has the glory, the blessing, and majesty. And in fact, you can look at St. John intentionally when he talked about Jesus going on the cross. If you see the word he describes, the cross, you would imagine Jesus carrying the cross, falling under it, and people kicking him to go. John doesn't say that. And he says, and he walked out carrying his cross. He's like a king carrying his scepter. It's mentioned in a very powerful way in St. John. So we need to remind ourselves that he has the power, the glory, the blessing, and majesty. He won a battle for us, the battle of our lives. And you will see this when we do on Saturday and every day on the 50th day, when we do the resurrection procession. If you can remember the words and try to understand them, that Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death, not his death, my death. And by death, he trampling down death by death, and upon those in the tombs, he bestowed life. That's what he's done, and that we celebrate. Finally, that's the final thing. What's in it for us? We need to thank him, really. He changed our destiny. We need to praise him. But most importantly, we need to remember we have a saying in that. We have a choice to make, either to be with him or to move away from him. And glory be to God forever. Amen.